What's up, fam? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lariello. I'm so excited today to bring you guys a conversation with none other than Lindsay Allison. We spoke just fresh off of her win at the Lake Sonoma Marathon, as well as a couple weeks removed from her podium finish at the Big Alta 50K in California. We got to do a lot of stuff. It was a really fun conversation. Lindsay had actually just recently this year joined the Altra team. We talked about how that partnership came to be and what it was like kind of working with a team and that type of brand. On top of that, we talked about kind of nutrition, training optimization, talked about hydration, and some interesting things as topics around that. We talked about her 2025 calendar and her big goals. And we talked about 2024 and kind of what led her to joining the Altra team. And super fun conversation. One more thing we jumped into that I thought was kind of interesting and compelling was just living and training in Telluride. What an interesting place. It's one of the most beautiful mountain towns in the country, if not the world, and kind of the pros and cons of being able to live in one of these beautiful places, and how she sometimes will split time between California, where she grew up and went to college, and Colorado. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this one. It's a great conversation. I really appreciate Lindsay for coming on the podcast and letting me help tell her story. So without further ado, none other than Lindsay Allison.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Listen up, guys. The Steep Stuff Podcast is brought to you by Ultimate Direction USA. Guys, I am so excited. UD just dropped their new Race Vest 6-liter and Ultra Vest 12-liter in two beautiful aesthetic colors. You guys got to check these new vests out. They're dynamic in ways like that you just have never seen from an Ultimate Direction vest. Very stretchy, lots of storage, beautiful aesthetic colorways coming to you in a new, like a white and blue and an onyx and green. Just absolutely beautiful vests. I think these ones are just like some of the best products we've ever dropped, and I'm so excited for you guys to try them out. Hop on ultimatedirection.com and use code SteepStuffPod. Again, that's SteepStuffPod for 25% off your new vest. I mean, they're already affordably priced, but 25% off is just going to make it so much more affordable for folks in an already increasingly expensive trail running environment. So hop on ultimatedirection.com, get yourself a new vest, a pack, or any hydration solution, and let me know what you guys think. Lindsay Allison, welcome to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How's it going?
It's good. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm stoked to finally have a conversation. I feel like when I started this podcast, I always put together like lists of folks I want to eventually have on, and you've been on that list. So stoked to finally have a conversation and get to chatting. How's your day going?
Day is going well. Mid-work day for me, but we got a really awesome TAM summit this morning. I'm in the Bay Area right now, so that always kicks the day off strong.
I'm jealous. It was a boring track run for me, but I feel you on the sneaking out in the middle of the day to do podcasts. It's kind of how my MO right now.
Love that.
Yeah. So all right, let's get started. Maybe I'd love to hear the 5-minute elevator pitch on like your background with running. Obviously you've got like a really cool background. Maybe talk about Stanford, where you grew up and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in the Bay Area. And I wasn't really a runner. I was more of just an athlete. My family is very active. So I grew up playing soccer. I did a lot of gymnastics, actually did trampoline, which is a competitive sport, believe it or not. Yeah, I ski raced. So a lot of different things. And running was dabbled in there for sure. I did a little bit of cross country, honestly in middle school, a little bit in high school, but more so even earlier on. But really just grew up active, and really loved the outdoors. And then let's see, I did do some cross country in high school. Um, and that was sort of where my ultra running interest was peaked. I Some people might know Alex Varner. He's like a old name in the sport, but basically he was a assistant cross country coach in my high school. And he would kind of come in randomly from time to time, and we really connected my senior year, and that was the year I think it was his first Western States. And that was the first time I'd heard of Western States. And so I think that actually really was the start for me of like, wow, I didn't know people could run that far. I didn't know people wanted to run that far. But I was really intrigued by it. And so that was kind of in my mind, I would say, as I went to college. I went to Stanford. I wasn't on the track team or anything. But I definitely just ran for fun. And my junior year, I made a friend who was also sort of in the running community. He had done the rut a couple times growing up. He grew up in Montana. And so I think that was again like, oh, look at this, another person who does this type of running that I'm super interested in. And I think I really just needed a person to show me what that would look like. So I started running more seriously, I would say, in college, and then did the first trail half marathon, and then ended up doing my first 50K actually the day before my graduation, which was a fun little thing. That was at Broken Arrow. But yeah, basically like since college, I just really fell in love with the sport, I would say, and have just kind of continued doing it. I basically after I graduated, I moved to Telluride. For the summer. A friend was working in the restaurant, or she got a job working at the newspaper. And I kind of came because I had a job after college, but it was going to start 9 months later. So I went with her just for fun, and that was where I really fell in love with like true mountain running. So that was kind of my intro there, and then basically since then, I moved back to Boulder for the job after I was in Telluride for a little bit. Lived with Andy Wacker and Carly, which many people do. They're great. And so that was again, like, I feel like my progression has really just been getting more and more involved in the community and loving the community so much that I keep running and then keep pushing myself and kind of I've really found it through that avenue. So some time in Boulder, and then we moved back to Telluride about 3.5 years ago now. And so it's really been just kind of like continuing that journey over time.
Super cool. I got to go back and ask you about competitive trampoline. Like like how do the point systems work? Like how do they score it? Like what a rad sport. It sounds dope.
Yeah, it's an Olympic sport. You can watch it in the Olympics.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like gymnastics, but there's 3 events. There's trampoline, like literally the trampoline, you do 10 skills. And there's like one compulsory routine that everyone does, and then one optional routine where you make it up, but it has to have certain difficulty. And then you're judged like similar to gymnastics, just on form and difficulty. And then there's 2 more events. One is called the double mini, which is like a trampoline, sort of like a vault. Like you run up to it, you do a skill onto it and a skill off of it. And the last one's tumbling, which is basically like on the floor exercise in gymnastics, like their actual tumbling passes. That's all you do. There's no dancing involved. It's just like the tumbling part. But yeah, I got into it. I was doing gymnastics competitively growing from the time I was in like first grade or something. And then I hurt my elbow. And our gym was starting a trampoline program. And so I couldn't really do gymnastics because your elbow is pretty important. But I could do trampoline. And so I kind of got into it through that. And then, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was also easy to do with multiple sports because it was a lot less time than gymnastics typically is. Gymnastics can be like 5 hours a day type thing. But trampoline was a lot more reasonable. So I would go from like swim team to soccer to trampoline, and it was all doable. Whereas gymnastics was not going to be that sustainable with other things.
That's crazy. All right. Well, you know what? I appreciate you. That was a lot of information. I'm actually like really impressed and super stoked on it. I'm like, all right. Now
It's
I know
fun.
a lot
It's
about
cool. You should
competitive
watch
trampoline.
it.
Yeah.
People are really good at it.
The next time the Olympics are on, yeah, I'll have to
It's
tune in.
definitely one of those ones that's like on at midnight, not really in prime time, but it's still fun to watch.
All right, let's get to, so you live in Telluride. So I live in the Front Range. I'm in Colorado Springs. I love Telluride. I love the San Juans. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world, in my opinion. Is it like, I know there's a lot of pros and cons. I think a lot of the pros is the access. The cons are probably the ability to travel and get places, especially as a professional athlete. Can you maybe just like talk about that? Like, what is it like living there, and like what do you like and what do you don't like?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Oh gosh, where to even start? So I think so the pros are pretty obvious. I mean, the mountains are unreal. I think I'm super biased, but I think the San Juans are the best mountains in the US, like by far.
Easily.
And so I think just being able to be in the mountains is just really special. So I work full time as well, and I just think like having the access I do with the job I do, like the best case is Telluride because I can be in the Alpine at 6 a.m. and then I can be in my desk at 9. And living other places, you can definitely do similar things, but the fact that I can actually go on a mountain run before work, I think is there's just nothing that can compare to that. So I'm super grateful for that. Other pros, the community is amazing. It's really tight knit. We actually have quite a few runners, and more runners over time. Like when we moved there 3.5 years ago, there was not very many runners, and we've had this kind of like people who've been doing other types of sports, have kind of dabbled in running over time, and it's just really fun to have that group of people and see some people progress, and it's just it's a special group. And I think with that, I really like how you're not as embedded in like the insanity of running culture, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of the running community is amazing, but it can definitely become overwhelming, I think, when you've got a bunch of people doing a bunch of workouts and they're doing their own run at a certain time because they want to get whatever stats they want for the day. And the Telluride community is like the opposite of that. It's really just about, oh, this person really wants to do this route because it looks so cool and they want to get on top of whatever mountain this day. And I really love that perspective, which I think is it's not unique to Telluride, but it's definitely emphasized there. Like running is about the experience of running rather than the stats. And so it's interesting to kind of like thread the needle there. But yes, there are a lot of cons. And I think so the first one for me, like having a job, I do think there are trade-offs of deciding to take a full-time job remote, as opposed to being in the office. Like there's career trade-offs that I'm definitely making. And I think right now they're the right trade-offs, but I don't know where I want to be in 5 years. And so I do think about that sometimes. Like I am taking a risk, and I think I'm focusing on running and emphasizing that part of my life right now. And I think it's the right decision, but I do think there is something there. I love being in the mountains, but it's definitely deciding to prioritize that part of my life over a career right now, which I'm happy doing for now. And then it's really hard to get places. It's super remote in Telluride. The nearest airport's 80 minutes away, and even then you have to go from there to Denver to then wherever you want to be. So that's really hard. And then also, honestly, like if you have anything that happens to you medically,
Yeah,
it's
true. I
really
didn't even
hard to
think
get
about
help
that.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have, if you
Where do you
think
go?
you
Like
have a stress
Montrose?
fracture, you need an MRI. Yeah, you have to go to Montrose.
Okay.
So
Wow.
there's a clinic, but anything more in depth than that, you're driving 90 minutes each way.
Wow. That's crazy. In the 3.5 years that you've been there, like how much have you seen it change? Because it's like, I don't know, we've seen in Colorado, especially in the mountain towns, like just like an inundation of folks from like out of state, and it's like raised the prices drastically. So it's got to be, I feel like that's an added stress as well, just because things are so expensive in these tiny towns and it's got to be harder to live, right?
Totally. it's definitely changed over the last 3.5 years. I kind of think I entered a little bit when when that influx was happening. So, it was 2021 during COVID. A lot of remote people were
That's when
moving
I
to the
moved to
mountains.
Colorado.
Yeah. So I think that was part of the change, but definitely over time, there's a lot of challenges in small mountain towns. Like you said, housing's really difficult. Um, and prices going up don't help anything. But yeah, I think it definitely has changed. It's staying pretty true, I think, to its roots. And I think the one thing that is good about Telluride is it's pretty landlocked and um, there's not much room for sprawl. So we don't get the same sprawling growth, which would cause all sorts of other issues, but you definitely get the like internal small mountain town conflicts that arise over time.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I do want to ask about the running community because we did touch on that a little bit. You said more and more people have kind of come in. Is it like a good mix of like, do you get a lot of climbers? Do you get a lot of like people from the mountaineering and ski communities as well that kind of like make this up? Because I feel like the San Juans are this interesting intersection of all kinds of mountain athlete. Would you say like that makes it up as well?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Basically, there's I don't want to oversimplify Telluride running community, so forgive me, Telluride people. But I think there's kind of two types of people. Like there are some people who run year round, me, Ryan, my partner included. And so, there's some people who are doing it for the competition, for like the love of true running. But then I'd say there's this other population of people, which are the mountain people who ski in the winter, do all these epic backcountry routes. And then in the summer, there's no snow. So they just do the same stuff, but on foot. And they're all just incredible athletes. Like that's the cool part about it. Like none of them, I don't think, would say they're focused on running, but they're really good at it. And so I think it's just cool to see a different side of the sport where, those people just love being in the mountains, and running is the most efficient way in the summer. So we do get the running community swells
Yeah.
swells in the summer and definitely dwindles in the winter. But I kind of love that. Like you see different people, you're running with different people, get inspired by their really epic routes in the winter and in the summer. So, but yeah, it's definitely you get the climbing ski people that are kind of transitioning into running for the summer months.
Super cool. It's interesting too, because like you said, in the summer, is that annoying to you? I mean, I know you probably travel a lot. Like it's funny. Like I find myself, I live very close to Manitou Springs where the Manitou Incline is. So we get a lot of tourists, and like, especially now that it's like starting to get into tourist season, it drives me nuts. Like, is it something, is it a little stressful having more and more people? I feel like that would drive me crazy, especially in a town like that.
No, because at the end of the day, we're talking about the running community going from 5 people to 20 people,
Oh, it's not bad. Okay.
not 20 to thousands. So no, I love it. I love that there's more people getting into running. We have like a weekly Tuesday night squad run, and last summer we were getting like 30 people, and that was awesome. I think the more people that get into running in these small communities, the better. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah. It's
If it was a different scale, I would not be saying the same things I'm saying.
I think the Boulder folks can probably agree with me too. I had to go up to Boulder for a photo shoot recently. It was like on a Sunday, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I could never live there. Like I thought the incline was crazy. Like this is bananas.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy.
During a hard rock season, that's got to be super fun for you too. Like I think I remember seeing you on the live stream. I think it was like you and Ryan, what were you pacing like Nick Corey a couple years ago or last year. Like that had to have been a super fun like part. Does that inspire you at all to want to do hard rock one day or? Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see Hard Rock come through every year. It's one of my favorite weekends for sure. It's super inspiring. I hope that I can do Hard Rock someday. It's daunting because I have 0 qualifiers, so I have 0 tickets. So I definitely think about that though. And maybe that's a different conversation we can have, but I feel like I'm slowly getting to the point where I want to do some of those 100 miles. I've definitely focused on some of the shorter stuff up until now. And so, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I should really do one of these soon so I can get into Hard Rock
So you
someday.
won't be 60 by the time you get in.
Exactly. But yeah, I think, I mean, the course is amazing. I've done soft rock before, and it's it's such a great course, and I just love, you know, when everyone's here and can see that, it's really special.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I don't want to bury the lead too much. You're wearing an Altra shirt. You just signed with Altra this year. First of all, congratulations. Super, super cool. What a cool brand. Great shoes, great apparel. Let's talk about Altra a little bit. Like, how did that partnership come to be? Like, and what are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, great question. I so it came about because of Amanda Basham, and I have to give her a shout out because she's incredible. She honestly, we had raced together at the McDowell Mountain Run this year, just the 25K. But we chatted for a while after the race. And she really just reached out and said, "Hey, have you considered chatting with Ultra?" And so from there, she connected me with the brand manager, and we really just hit it off, and it kind of went from there. And I just think that's so cool. I feel like there are a number of women in the sport that are that are really looking out for other women. And I think that's pretty unique to trail running. And yeah, I'm really grateful. I think that um, a lot of the sport is like being given the right opportunities. So I think Amanda's amazing, and I'm really grateful for her to like have thought of me. And yeah, so I think I'm very grateful to her. Um, but yeah, I really love the shoes. I don't think Colby, the brand manager, will mind me saying this, but I was pretty skeptical when I first was chatting with him. I was like, I'll try the shoes, but I don't know what's going to happen. But I've been blown away. And I think being with the brand at this time where they really are changing, they have a new chief product officer, and stuff is they're really innovating. I'm also sample size, which is great
That's
because I've
awesome.
tried some of the new stuff. And it's just getting better. So I've been super excited about the products. And yeah, it's been great to be a part of a team. And I'm super grateful to Ultra for supporting me and for taking a chance on me, really. And again, to Amanda, because I think we need more people like her in the sport for sure.
Dude, Amanda's amazing. Good people. And also has probably the biggest calves I've ever seen in my life.
Totally.
Like I was astounded.
Is
Like I
it the
was like,
ultras?
that's right. It could be the Ultras. That's what does it. So as far as shoe goes, like what were you racing the Big Alta in when you went and threw
I
down?
was I was racing in the Mont Blanc Carbons, so they're carbon trail shoe, which I really like. I found that most of the shoes to me, like, they don't feel like zero drop, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I was expecting to feel when I started trying the shoes that it would feel like very different, very flat, but they don't feel like that to me. So yeah, I've really enjoyed the carbon shoe. And that's been my primary racing shoe and probably will continue to be. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited about some of the new stuff as well.
Super cool. Well, congratulations. And yeah, I think it's a great fit too. Like just a cool brand. I was really stoked that like they made a lot of like big splash this year with Tara Dower signing her to a landmark deal, and just signing more women to the team. I think it's like what they're doing is awesome. So super cool.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's talk Big Alta. So you just got back, you got on the podium at Big Alta, second place to a monster in Tabor Hemming. Like let's talk about that race a little bit. What was it like throwing down on some of your home trails, and how did that feel?
Yeah. Yeah, Big Alta was great. I first of all just shout out to Free Trail and Daybreak because it's a really awesome course. I really hope people have been saying they hope this race kind of becomes the new early season opener, and I totally echo that. I think it's an awesome race to kick off the season with. But yeah, the race went really well. It's hindsight 2020, but I started off a little bit behind Tabor, and then there was another girl with her who ran with her most of the race, which was awesome to see. But I started out with Keely Henninger, and we were chatting for a couple miles, and I really enjoyed that. I'm very chatty when racing. It's one of the things I'm working on, not chatting during racing. But yeah, so I kind of like let a gap form toward the beginning of the race. And it sort of just held for the whole day. And I was able to reel in the other woman, I think her name's Erin, toward I forget, around like 20 some miles. But the gap to Tabor, like it really was just staying the same. And I'd need to like fact check myself on that, but I think in the last 8 or so miles, there was a segment for it and it was like we were 20 seconds apart. So really felt like this gap opened and then it stayed. And so in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I had just tried to hold with her for a little bit longer, what would have happened? And I think that's definitely something I've been working on, like feeling like I belong with those types of amazing runners. So I've been thinking about that in hindsight, but obviously, you can't speculate about what would have happened. But I think that was my biggest takeaway from the day of just being more willing to put myself out there at the start of races and just see what happens. Because I think I have developed confidence in myself in like the later stages of races over time. But I definitely the early stage of the race is where I usually doubt myself more. So that was my biggest takeaway. But amazing trails, love seeing all my friends. There's so many friends out here. And so I think just seeing those people on the course and it was a really awesome day. But yeah, hats off to Tabor. She ran super fast off of really no trail training. So she's
yeah, she's on. Yeah,
off to a good start.
But kudos to you, man. Second place, and like and it was a fairly stacked field in 50K for women. Like Killy, like you said, Killy was there. Like quite a few really strong women came there to throw down. So congratulations, and I'm sure it must have been super special, especially like with the fact that like it's not too far from where you grew up and stuff like that, which is super cool. Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like I think after watching and like following along, I'm like, dude, I'm definitely going to the 28K next year. Like it's a super like I like that people show up. It's competitive and yeah, I just love everything Free Trail's starting to put together for it, which is cool. So
I think they're a big reason that it's gotten so big. So
yeah,
the course is awesome. It's so runnable, steep, but so runnable. It's like the perfect early season.
Yeah, good butt kicker for the beginning of the season. Let me ask you this, because I knew when we first started the podcast, you had said something about Mount Tam. Like maybe talk about like the specialness of that to the area and just like how special that, because I feel like every time I see a story of yours on Instagram, like you're usually like on one of those trails or somewhere on there. So I was like, it's got to be a special mountain for you. So maybe talk about that.
Yeah. So I went to high school at the base of Mount Tam, basically, by Phoenix Lake, if people know what that is. But when I ran in high school, we were a mile from Phoenix Lake, which is like the base of the Mount Tam trail system. So yeah, it's been a staple in my life basically since I was 14 or whatever. So yeah, I love those trails. It's where I fell in love with trail running to begin with. And then I think what's really special is in high school, you're running 3 to 5 miles a day, right? Like your long run is 8 miles and it feels like forever. And I think it's been really cool to come back here over time. And, as I get more and more into running and can go farther and farther, I love maps. And I love just like being able to connect all these parts of Mount Tam that I didn't even know you could connect. When you're young, you're like, oh, Stinson Beach, that's way far away. And you're like, oh, wait, I can run there now. So I think that's been really special over time. And I honestly think it's something that most people who grew up here probably don't ever experience. And so it's not lost on me that I just feel grateful that I can come back to the place I grew up. I love it so much, and I'm able to see it in like a totally different way that I sort of knew existed, but I really didn't growing up here. So yeah, I love Mount Tam, and I could run there forever.
That's super cool. I want to ask you about the Dipsy race. I saw on your on some of your like your ultra sign up and stuff like that, you had done the quad Dipsy, but I didn't check, and I should have checked this at the results of like the actual Dipsy race. I figured I'd just ask you, have you ever done the true and try Dipsy, and like what is that race to you?
Yes, I have done the true and try Dipsy. I did it the year after I graduated high school. It's a trip. It's a crazy race. It's so cool. Yeah, if listeners haven't heard of it, definitely look it up. But there's like this handicap starting system where the youngest people start first. Or it's kind of it's too hard to
It's
explain,
like
but basically
oldest
like
and
there's
some youngest.
handicaps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so the idea is that whoever crosses the finish line should actually win with handicaps based on age and how basically just on age, I think, and gender, I guess. Um, but so there's that part, which is the beginning of the race, and then there's I think that's called the invitational, and then there's like the general race, which is I think it's equally split 500 people and 500 people. So 1,000 people on this trail is crazy. It's a 7 mile race. And so I was you every when you first get into the Dipsy, you're in the general masses. And in order to get into the race the next year automatically, you have to basically get into the top 500. So you're like chasing the people that have started before you. So it was just a chaos. Like, you've got people ahead of you who are slower but they're in the invitational section. So it's just like a chaos of humans basically. But it's so fun. I don't remember everything about it, but I just remember um, passing people, knowing people, saying hi to people, it's just really a chaotic but awesome experience. So, um, but yeah, that was a special race I did. Then and then when I was growing up though, I had heard of one of my friend's dads would always do the quad dipsy. And at the time I was like, that is psychotic. Who would do the dipsy 4 times? I can hardly imagine doing it once. Um, yeah, as an aside, on our swim team, I was on the swim team growing up, and once a year we would all just hike the Dipsy to the beach, and then we'd have a beach day. So that was like my frame of reference for the Dipsy at the time. Like, oh my gosh, someone's not hiking this, they're running it, and they're doing it 4 times. That's crazy. But as I got into ultra running over time, I was like, well, I need to do that. So yeah, I've done the quad 3 or 4 times now, and I love it. I think it's an awesome race.
That's super cool. Yeah, I got to get out there for the traditional Dipsy one of these days. It's definitely on the list. I've had Mark Tatum on, who's won it a few years back, and he won't stop talking about it. It's like his
It's
favorite thing
crazy.
on the planet. So yeah, I got to see what the hype is all about. It seems I just love when you get these races that are just so special to a community, like your Mount Marathons, your Dipsies, your Pikes Peaks. Like some of these races are just so deeply intertwined with the community itself that it's just so special.
Totally. And it's so old that has so much history. I think that's really, really special as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to ask you, I'm going to pivot a little bit out of racing. I just so interesting to me because every now and then I'll talk to like a power couple in the sport, like Taylor Stack and his partner. It's just interesting to me because Ryan is to me, as someone who follows sub ultra so closely, one of the best sub ultra athletes in the country, easily. Big Ryan fan. What is it like for, I guess, to have a partner that's also a athlete at a high level? Do you guys get out and train a lot together? Do you have separate training schedules? What does that look like? It's got to be give and take, because maybe he wants to do some races that you don't, or vice versa. What is that like?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. I appreciate calling him out because I also think he's one of the best. And I don't feel like he gets enough recognition for it.
No, I didn't.
Um,
Not that he deserves, for sure.
yeah. But yeah, it's really fun, but it's definitely sometimes stressful. It's funny to compare, I'll watch the Hemmings YouTube video and they do a lot of their stuff together, and that's my dream. If I could run every day with Ryan, I would, but he doesn't feel the same. I'm too slow. But um, but yeah, it's interesting. So Ryan, I honestly have to credit him for a lot of my success over the past couple of years. Because he pretty much has done all of my workouts with me over the past couple of years, which is that's really incredible. And he's sometimes does it at his own pace, but he's there supporting me for most of my workouts, which is really, really special. But we typically do a couple runs a week together, I would say. He always does my workout. We typically do one adventure run on the weekend together at least. And then kind of randomly throughout the week. Um, it is hard. He also doesn't run as much as me. I run a lot, and he is prone to Achilles problems. So he tries to limit himself, and does a lot of biking. So most days I would say we're kind of doing our own thing. We also have really different schedules because he works at a restaurant. So he works in the evenings most days, whereas, I'm working like 9 to 5-ish. And so I'm doing most of my runs like very early in the morning or after work. But we usually do a couple runs a week together, I would say. And then the weekends we try to do more of the adventure stuff. Um, but yeah, it's definitely the past couple years we've done similar races, and we typically do similar races, I would say. Um, this year will be interesting. He is hoping to get into Leadville via there's like a Tahoe Leadville race this year.
Oh, is it
Uh,
really? Oh, wow.
yeah, it's cool actually. It's like a 50K. I don't want to say it to too many people, but yeah, they added another race. So he's trying to do that, but I think Leadville training versus I'll be training for like Speed Goat and CCC. It's pretty different.
Yeah.
Leadville's pretty flat and fast. Whereas obviously I'm trying to do way more mountainous stuff. So we'll see how that evolves. But I feel like typically our training has been similar enough that at least the adventure runs make the most sense to do together.
Super cool. You guys should start a YouTube. You gotta like a training YouTube would be kind of cool. I always tell
That
more
would be
people to
fun.
do this. Would be kind of fun to
I
follow
do.
along.
I love all this influx of YouTube.
Right,
Great
right.
content.
Or and Substack. I've seen a lot of good Substacks
Yeah,
out
that's
there
true.
lately. No, it's super cool. And thanks for being candid. Like it's always interesting to me because, you meet a lot of people. There's not as many couples in the sport that are athletes at a very high level. So it's just always interesting to see like what's give and take and how you guys form your schedules and stuff like that. Let's talk about your schedule. So you've got Broken Arrow coming up, 46K. Do you have anything before that, or is it just Broken Arrow right
I
now on the
don't think
horizon?
so.
No?
I'm debating a couple things, but I probably will just train to Broken Arrow at this point.
Super cool. It's I don't know, like just scrolling through your results, it's been really interesting to see you and very cool to see you like evolve and continue to get like incrementally like 3 places better at Broken Arrow almost every year. And like last time around you got 4th. So I feel like, the odds could possibly be it could be in your favor this year. Is the goal to try to get on the world's team?
Um, no. I mean, like, yes, but no, I guess is my answer. I want to do the best I can at Broken Arrow. Is my goal the world's team? Like, no, I'm racing CCC. That's my goal. So I think it wouldn't really make a ton of sense to do worlds, though I would love to. Um, so my goal is really just to race a super competitive field at Broken Arrow. I'm really excited for it. Broken Arrow is my favorite race for a lot of reasons, but so I think just being able to be in such a stacked field will be really, really cool. If that ends up being worlds, you know, great. But I don't think it's not my intent.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. You're the first person that said that to me. Like usually
I
people are
mean,
like,
I guess it is my goal. Like I don't really know how to answer that because I like, yes, that'd be amazing, but I have, there's other things that are happening. And I do, people have talked about whether it's responsible even to race worlds and
NCCC.
one
That
of the
makes sense.
UTMB races. So I haven't put much thought into it, I guess is what I would say, just because it feels a little bit out of reach, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, like you've had some amazing finishes. I mean, what did you win the Triple Crown, and you've had great finishes at the 23K and the 46K. The 46K seems to be your distance there. So
That's my distance there.
yeah, you never know. You never know. It's going to be fun to follow along. You did say it's your favorite race for so many reasons. I'm curious to see like what is it that about that race that's just so like the reason you love it so much.
Yeah. So the most obvious reason is that I grew up ski racing at Palisades. So it's like I literally from the time I was 2, my parents drove me to Tahoe every weekend and I skied there every single weekend my whole life. So that mountain is like so special to me and to my family. So it really feels like home. Like I feel possessive over the mountain. Like that is my stomping grounds. And like there's part of the course that is the main area we would train for downhill skiing. So just to like, I remember the first time I did it, just thinking, what? I'm going up it? This makes no sense. Like, it just like the concept of running Broken Arrow the first time I did it was so mind-boggling to me, but also so eye-opening to be like, wow, this is steeper than I thought, or those types of realizations were really fun. But so that's the first reason, and then it was my first 50K, so I think that it just feels like again like a different form of homecoming every year, where I have gotten a lot better at it over the years, and I think that's really cool to see over time. And it just, yeah, the significance of the race itself to me, just being a part of my upbringing, and then also just it's become this kind of like fitness check of my progression over time. And so I think that also just feels really special. And then of course, like it's just become such a great atmosphere. So many people come. Brendan does an amazing job organizing it, and it's such a fun weekend that I will always go back to that race.
It's cool. I got engaged there. I like how,
really?
Yeah, I love that race. Like, yeah, it's such a special place. Special, like, I don't know. It's a really cool race, and one of these years I got to go back. Yeah. So let's move on from Broken Arrow. I do want to talk about Speed Goat. Last year you raced Speed Goat. You said this year you're going back, right?
Yep.
That's a hard race to get right. I hate Speed Goat.
Oh gosh,
something
it went
about
really
it.
badly last time.
Maybe talk about it. Like, what do you think you can, I don't know, improve on or change or mix it up for this year? Because it seems to be a good test piece for races like CCC.
Yeah,
things like that.
It's really long, like time wise. So I think it's a good training stimulus. Yeah, I think I just made some mistakes going into it. Like, I think I didn't taper very well. So my biggest problem with running is that I love being in the mountains. And so especially in the summer, the Telluride summer is so fleeting that I just want to fit everything in, and I want to do every route, and I want to do them every week, and I basically just want to maximize my summer. But Speed Goat falls like right in the middle of the summer, basically. And so it was last year, I just felt this crazy pull of like, oh, I really want to do this route because I think it's like the only weekend I can do it versus, I should taper, etc. So in hindsight, probably didn't execute that very well. So that was probably issue number one. But then last year, I really did start having like a number of stomach issues, which I had never experienced before. And in hindsight, I feel so silly like admitting this, but I had no idea that precision gels had no sodium when I started using them. Like, they kind of came onto the scene last year, and I was like, I should just try this gel. And I guess I just wasn't as plugged into fueling. So I was taking all these gels because I really liked them. I thought they worked well, but I was taking them with no sodium. And so I think that was the cause of many of my stomach issues at the time. And I think that's probably what happened at Speed Goat. It wasn't, I was just a little bit nauseous for a lot of the day, but I definitely just didn't feel very good. And I think that was a combination of the overtraining slightly and, not really nailing the fueling. So I think those two things are going to be good to think about next year, this year. But yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know how you know that race. It's interesting because the first climb is actually pretty runnable. And I think it was almost too runnable for me compared to Telluride terrain, because Telluride terrain is mostly not runnable. So I think I need to figure out how to maintain less or just more runnable climbs. I need to work on I need to train on those more, I think, this year, and just see how that goes.
Gotcha. The runnable climbs. It's like, I think the thing too, and this kind of maybe goes hand in hand with fueling. Like, that side of that Wasatch just gets cooked and like baked in the sun. It gets so hot in there. And
it was also very hot.
Yeah. Like, I raced the Cirque Series races this summer in there, and I was astonished by how like toasty it was.
Yeah.
I did not like that.
That's a good point. I forgot about that.
Yeah. It gets super hot. So yeah, I don't know. What is your fueling strategy like now? Like, Like, do you work with any particular like gel company or like what do you do?
Yeah, so well now I work with Vic Johnson.
Okay.
Shout out Vic Johnson, he's the best.
Miracle worker.
So that's been really helpful. I partner with the feed, so I use all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I've kind of had a journey of fueling this year. I would say like Black Canyon, I messed up my Black Canyon significantly because of fueling. I think in hindsight, I was actually taking too much in. I think I got overwhelmed with the high carb fueling era, and I don't think everyone needs it, to be honest. I'm pretty small, and so I think I just it was a calibration issue. But I feel like so now Vic's helped me kind of dial that back a little bit. And then I've been so everyone's obsessed with sweat testing. I got an H drop, which is like a sensor that you can wear on a regular basis. And that's been really helpful for me actually, because in Telluride, we don't have a sweat testing facility. So I can't do these like one-off tests as well as much, but having this thing I can wear every day if I want has been really helpful for figuring out like what do I need.
Can you
So
talk
yeah,
about
that's
that
been
for a
great.
second? Like what kind of
Yeah.
like what metrics are you getting off of that? Is it just
So
like
you
hydration?
get your fluid loss, so liters per hour, you get your sodium concentration lost, absolute and per liter, I think. And then there's some like potassium, other electrolytes. But it's game changing, I think, because your sweat rate does change a little bit. So being able to dial it in or understand like, oh, if I'm doing a workout, it's going to be higher. If I'm going to go for a longer run, it's going to change like this. Like that's been really helpful, especially coming from winter in Telluride where it was freezing and that now I'm in the Bay Area. And it's, 60s, 70s. So that's been really interesting and super helpful. Despite my precision mishap, I'm fairly data oriented, so having that data or just that information has really helped me. And it makes a lot of sense. Like in hindsight, a lot of the things like, sometimes I've been like, oh, I feel like I do need more salt. And like, sure enough, I'm like slightly saltier relative to my fluid loss. So I think data like that has been really interesting and good to kind of confirm biases or, change some things up. So that's been pretty helpful.
Does it like I have so many questions. This thing's amazing. I want to go buy one
It's
right now.
You should.
Is it like
I'm a big fan.
does it like it like sticks you almost like in like measures
No,
your blood? No?
I wish I had it. It's basically like it's like a square. It's like 1 inch by 1 inch. Um, and I don't really know. There's a sensor on the back of it, and you can just like put it on an armband or something. They give you an armband, you can put it on. Um, and it absorbs your sweat. And so it does, and I think it has some sort of extrapolation calculator that, based on however much is coming off of your arm, it extrapolates to how much that correlates to with your whole body. And it seems relatively accurate. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, but I did one sweat test that was official, and it's close enough. They're close enough that I feel like I'm pretty confident in it. I also just think getting the volume of tests, you start to narrow in on like, okay, this is the range that's probably accurate. But yeah, I mean, not sponsored. I just
Yeah, you
really
just sold me on it.
yeah.
Probably 10 people
Great.
listening to this probably just bought it too.
Yeah,
It's
I've been talking about it to a lot of the Marin people as well, and they're like, "Oh, I'm buying this."
yeah. I mean, it's a great idea. I have a buddy that just literally went to Scratch like 2 weeks ago and got the sweat test, and he's like, "You should go. You should do it." And I'm lazy. I'm like, because sub ultra, I feel like I'm like, yeah, do I like? I
Yeah,
don't
you
really
don't
need to
really
pay
need
attention to that stuff. But like, still for training and getting like, I'm always about like, okay, what can I do to maximize every variable possible? That's one way to do it, especially when it comes to like, from a hydration perspective, especially here in the summer because it's so dry and it's so hot that it's always good to know things like that. So
Really.
interesting, yeah,
Yeah, I like it a lot.
yeah, super cool. All right, so we talked about speed go. Let's get into CCC. Have you ever run 100K?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
1 out of 3 successful, I would say.
Okay. Okay. Wow. All
We'll see.
right. So you stoked? Are you stoked to go over there and like see
Yeah.
what sham? I mean, you've already ran over there before, so you saw what it's all about.
I haven't raced any of the UTMB events, but a couple years ago, Ryan raced OCC, and then we did the Tour de Monte Rosa. UTMR race, which that race is awesome.
Sounds cool.
But yeah, I'm really excited. I think I haven't done a mountainous 100K before, and I definitely feel like that's more up my alley than I've basically done Black Canyon twice. Both times have been wildly unsuccessful. And then I raced Kodiak last year, and that went actually pretty well. So, but I think that the mountainous stuff is more up my alley. I actually did Madeira a couple of years ago, the 50 mile, which it didn't go, it was fine. But I'm more excited by the longer mountainous stuff rather than the longer, flatter stuff, I would say. So I'm intrigued. I feel like I train like I run 100 milers all the time. I don't, but I feel like I'm ready to see what that will translate to. Because I feel like I'm ready and capable of running a good CCC. But I think it'll be a little bit of, we'll just see what happens.
Super cool. Now you went over there with Ryan and you saw OCC, you did your own race as well. What was like the atmosphere in Chamonix is bananas, right? Like, are you guys going to stay in Cham proper? Are you going to stay out of there? Like what's that plan like?
I don't know. We'll see. I think Altra's getting some form of house, so I'll probably just stay wherever they're staying. But I think the atmosphere is crazy. But it's so fun. Like I feel like I saw so many of my friends there that I hadn't seen in years, just from all over the US. And that's pretty cool to be like, oh, I don't see you at home, but I see you in Chamonix, I guess. But yeah, it's really wild. It's definitely a little bit overwhelming. So maybe the move will be stay outside and then come in for a couple days and then leave again.
How does that work? Like, does Altra plan to have, I mean, because they're one of the bigger brands, like I would imagine they plan to have a gigantic presence there. I don't know.
I assume so. I'm not totally sure. There haven't been many details yet, but I think so.
Super cool. Super cool. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if I was to ever do 100K, which I never planned to do, but the one would probably be CCC. That course looks so cool.
It looks really cool. Yeah. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool. All right, so let's get into, I have one more thing to ask you, and I slipped my mind. Maybe it'll come to me before the end. Let's get into some questions. I'm curious to hear, like, oh, that's what it was, with training. Do you work with a coach?
I do. I recently switched coaches. I'm working with Rick Floyd, who coaches MK and Helen Mina Faulkner and a couple other people. So yeah, Rick's great. I'm a big fan of Rick. But yeah, I've worked with a number of coaches over the years, and I've enjoyed working with all of them. So just, recent switch, feel like a new stimulus has been good for me. Just a switch in training has been pretty helpful. Yeah.
What does if you don't mind me asking, you could tell me as much of this as you want, but like what you said, you kind of said, like, I train more like a 100-mile athlete. Like what did you mean by that? Like more volume, or like
I run really high mileage.
Okay.
So I would say over the past like 2 or 3 years, I've been running pretty high, maybe 3 or 4 years, I guess. I've been running pretty high mileage. I usually run 100 to 115 miles a week, I would say. In the summer, it's more, and well, it kind of just depends, vert, etc. But I run pretty high mileage, and I really like it. And that goes back to like, I really just love running. So if I can do more of it, and my body has, knock on wood, been able to take a lot of that, I will. I'll do as much as my body will let me. But Rick has been good at trying to help me rein it in a little bit, and think about quality over quantity a little bit. So I definitely pulled back my training a little bit this winter, and I think it's only been beneficial. So I don't know what the future will look like, but I do I like to run high mileage, and I hope I can keep doing that for a while.
Dude, that's crazy. 100 to 115 miles a week. Like, wow, that's like way more than I do. That's impressive. Like, oh my God. Do you do like 3 structured workouts a week, or like 2 structured workouts? Like, how many workouts does he put in there for you?
Usually 2-ish. Yeah, it's been, I guess, when I was training for Big Alta and then Lake Sonoma, we were doing a little less volume, but I was doing 2 pretty solid workouts a week. And then sometimes it'll be like one workout and then a long run that's harder, has some sort of stimulus in there. But yeah, I would say like 1 to 2 is probably more standard just because I do run so much. It's hard to, three would be unadvisable.
What do you do for recovery? Are you just like sitting like at work and just sit in the
Yeah,
moon boots and like
no, I just sit here.
Wow, wow. Do you eat like a crazy amount of calories like after your runs? I'm just so impressed because like that's a lot of miles.
Yeah. I mean, I eat a lot. And I think I do I go to bed really early. And I mean, it's like it's always a trade-off, right? Like I think that um actually this goes back to when my first job out of college was really intense. Like people work 80 hours a week type thing at this company. Um, and people were telling me like, you're never going to be able to run that much. You're crazy. Like, good luck, haha, type thing. And I was like, well, you just have to choose what you care about. And so like I did. I just kept running because I didn't really, you trade off something. I wasn't sleeping very much at the time, or like not really hanging out with that many friends outside of running, like that type of thing. So I think now it's similar. Like you just make trade-offs. Like I pretty much work and I run, and that's about it. So I think, and so I think just sitting and working all day it's mentally exhausting, but it is, I compare it to Ryan or some of my friends that work in the restaurant industry. Like they're on their feet every night for 7 to 10 hours, right? Like that's very different than being able to just kind of relax, at least physically during the day. Um, but yeah, it feels to me like a trade-off more than anything.
Wow. That's amazing and impressive. Like I can relate to that a lot. Like people ask me like, well, what do you do? Do you like to do anything? Like, no, my life is it's pretty much the podcast, running, day job. And then I go to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock and
Yep.
yeah. And try to get 9 hours of sleep. So I'm recovered. Yeah. It's not so glamorous, but it's fun.
It is. It is. And, I think like, you don't know a little bit. Like
Yeah.
maybe I'm really tired all the time and I just don't realize. Do you know what I mean? Like it's sort of a relative problem. Because I am tired, like, and I probably and I do to be fair, like doing a little bit less mileage this winter, I have felt better. Like I feel like I can push harder in my workouts, like things like that. So I'm sure you're teetering at some point, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm at least like on the good side of it for now. So
Hey, you got to do what works for you. Let me ask you this: do you do any like strength and plyo work as well?
a little bit. Yeah, I couple days a week I do minor, nothing crazy though. I was doing more strength training last year, but still like another problem with living in Telluride is we have no gyms that are affordable. The cheapest gym is over $300 a month. And so that's just not going to happen.
Equinox or something?
Yeah, pretty much. There's two gyms. One's $300 a month and one's $400 a month. So that's just out of the question. So we're working on our home gym setup. But a lot of like, if I had access to a gym, I probably would do a little less running and more strength training. But it's a trade-off you make.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Are you a music person? Do you train with music at all?
Not really, to be honest.
No.
I prefer podcasts. I do a lot of podcasts when I run.
What's your favorite pod?
Oh man, putting me on the spot. Well, I really like Hard Fork outside of running.
What is that?
Like a tech podcast,
Okay.
by the New York Times, and it's the two guys that host are hilarious. It's very insightful and it's hilarious. So that's probably my favorite. But I make the rounds in the running podcasts. Gotta keep up with the sport. I'm definitely like a true fan of the sport, so I'm always just looking for running content as well.
Oh, I'm gonna put you on the spot now. You shouldn't have said that.
No.
Who's your who's your favorite runner?
Oh gosh. I don't know. There's too many.
I know.
I will say, okay, I'll give you an answer. I feel like so when I was getting into running or getting into ultra running, it was like 2017. And that was like the rise of Lucy Bartholomew and Courtney DeWalter. And so those two have always kind of held a different, they've kind of been put on a pedestal for me. Like I remember, um, oh gosh, my senior year of college, my friend and I were just on a weekend trip camping and running, and we were by the Western States Trail, and it happened to be the Western States training weekend, and we like passed both of them at this camp, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I don't know. I've always really, I feel like they're good mentors in the sport. So I've always looked up to them.
That's a good one. Now, I was on the streets of Silverton this summer. It was right after we got married, and we had like a bunch of family in town. We got married like outside of Silverton, like just so happened to be Hard Rock weekend. And so I don't know. I think we just took the family to go see Silverton because my grandparents were there. Like, all right, come see this cool mountain Victorian mining town, and yada yada yada. And like we're walking down the street, and Courtney walked right past me, and it was like right after she won Hard Rock, and I was like, whoa, like I don't know. Yes, like I don't even know what it is about her, but like just that star power that even I was like very starstruck when I saw her. I was like, wow, that's Courtney, and she's tinier in real life than I thought she would be. So yeah, it was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like them both. I appreciate Lucy's like honesty and in her path. That's been pretty cool to see.
Yeah, there's some amazing athletes in our sport.
Yeah,
Sorry I put you on the spot with that one. I've never asked that before, but it's been in the back of my head to ask somebody. So
I don't have a favorite, but at least I have a reason for those, I guess.
No, that makes sense. All right. So I know you said you're less a music person, more podcast person. Do appreciate the podcast answer on that. I'm just curious, like, do you have a hype up song or like a pump up song that you're going to listen
to? Yeah. So basically like all the music I find is through Ryan. Like he's a music guy. I'm very my brain focuses on one thing. And so when I work, no noise, like zero noise. I can't do coffee shop work. I can't do anything like that. No music, nothing. So anything I find is like all Ryan. And was it last year? Yeah, before Broken Arrow, he was like really obsessed with A Tear in Space, Glass Animals. We must have listened to this freaking song thousands of times. And I got really into it. And I'm like a very what's the right word? Spatial sensory person. I don't know. That's probably not the right word, but like I associate music with places or like experiences pretty strongly. And that was like the race went really well. I listened to that song like a number of times right before it started. And so I feel like actually ever since then, that has been my pump up song just because it puts me like right back to that day or that experience. So yeah, that's the one for now. But I feel like that's how my music taste goes. Like I'll have an experience with one song and then it just becomes, I like latch onto it and then I find a new one. So I'm not very exciting in the music world.
I do the same thing. I recycle music all the time, or I'll find like a song I'll hear on like Instagram, and like I just heard like "Here I Go Again" by Whitesnake, which is like an '80s or '90s song. I've been playing that like nonstop. Like, like this is amazing. My wife's like, "What is wrong with you?" So yeah, I get it. I gotta ask you a Stanford question, and it's funny. Like I have a lot of friends that have gone to like really good schools. Like I went to Miami, and I just found it to be like a rich kid school. I wasn't that impressed. Stanford is like one of the top institutions in the world. What was it like as an undergrad going there? Like, does it live up to the hype for you? Like, did it? Yeah. Pretty legit.
I think, so the best part about Stanford is people. And I think most people say that about most schools, but I truly believe it. Like I generally believe you can get about the same education most places. You learn things, you're in huge classes for the most part. It's really like the people and the either like with the professors or with classmates that really do make the experience. And there is something special about Stanford people, I think, like super motivated, but usually like for something other than themselves. Like it was just really motivating to be surrounded by these people because they really did like, it sounds so cliche, but like it feels like they want to do something to help the world. And a lot of them had already. And that's like the crazy part is like, oh yeah, this person started this thing and this person. And so it's just like it's so motivating to be there, and everyone is like so genuine. It's a really special place. I don't know how they get that student body, but they're really good at it. And I think it's really cool that you live. So freshman year, the dorm assignments are random, I think. Like the athletes don't live together, and like you can't actually choose where you live. So everyone is interspersed. And so there's really like you meet everyone. And I think that's like a really cool part of it too, because I think I most of my friends were athletes. And I thought that was like really special as well, just that you could get really close to people who felt a little bit, it's I think at some schools they're kind of do their own thing.
Yeah.
So I think that was really special. Yeah, it was a good place.
That's interesting. So most of your friends were athletes. Do you still stay in touch with some of the athletes? Some
Yeah,
of my best friends in undergrad were swimmers. Like one swam two
I had a lot of swimmer friends
two
too.
swim the 400 IM and one was like a 50 free. But like it's funny now how the roles are reversed because I wasn't an athlete in college
I
and now I
know,
am
isn't that
now.
funny?
Yeah, it's like it kind of creates like a funny conversation. Like they're like one's like totally out of shape and like kind of obese. I'm like, dude, like what are you doing? Like, yeah, it's kind of funny.
That is funny. It's funny. I was friends with a couple runners, not a ton, but it is a lot of the Stanford runners though are, Grant Fisher, I was at school with him, and
Oh
Elise,
wow.
like Elise was in my grade. Like it's it's people like that. You're like, oh nope, they're still crushing it, still
Still
way
amazing.
better than me, still amazing. But yeah, it is funny. There's like definitely a divergence that happens after college. Like, and I do think Stanford, I mean, I'm gonna completely oversimplify by saying this, but I feel like a lot of the coaches do care about like the longevity of people in their sport. So I do feel like people have actually stayed. I mean, again, like I'm totally oversimplifying, maybe running specifically. Like it seems like a lot of those people are still doing the sport, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Whereas it's easy to burn out, I think, after college for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. For sure. All right. Back to running. I got to ask you, well, it could be running, could be in life. I'm just curious, who inspires you?
Oh man. Um, a lot of people. I'm struggling to think of someone in particular. I think I've always been most inspired by people who are like multifaceted or have like multiple things going on. And so, oh gosh, I guess two examples sort of come to mind. Like one in the on the work side, I've always been fascinated by like who leads these companies and who they are. And um, I have found that when I look up at the different companies I've worked for, like the people who've always inspired me have been the ones that don't just work, or like they're really good at their job and they're really inspiring, but they also, they exercise, or they do like they have this deep hobby somewhere else, or I think like that pursuit of excellence like with other things in your life has always been um really inspiring to me. And I think there's a number of runners and people that embody that. So I think those are the people that I've been most inspired by, like those who have been able to maintain like two different parts of their life, or like really excel in different areas. So that's really big, but
Is balance? I just gotta ask you: is balance hard for you? Because like you run so much, and like now you're running at running at a professional level, and I mean, I did stalk you on LinkedIn as well, so I kind of have an idea of what you do. So like, obviously, you've got a big girl job. Balancing both, that's not like listen. I've got a big boy job, and I run, and I have a podcast. Like, I don't know how I do it, and sometimes I don't do it very well. All three of them. So, do you find it difficult to to balance those?
yeah, definitely. And I think yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was saying earlier, like you do sacrifice something. But it's really hard. I think like you have to have a reason that you're doing like everything you're doing, or else it's just never gonna stick. Like what I was saying before, when I was my first job out of college, like the people, everyone was like, oh yeah, you're never gonna run that much. Like, but I was like, no, 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 this is a priority. Like this is the non-negotiable part. And I think so I think just framing things as like these are the non-negotiables in my life and like these other things are important, but um, you know, I'm willing to sacrifice here or there versus like these are my two big rocks and this is what I'm going to focus on. But yeah, it does mean like something always falls to the wayside. Like, you know, I have a good job and I run a lot, but like my house is a mess. Like,
You know,
like there's always something that's going to fall and it's not, I wish my house wasn't a mess, but that's just what's going to happen for now.
the dishes suffer.
Yeah, the
That's
dishes
yeah.
suffer.
I feel your pain there.
But it is hard. And then, like some days, yeah, you don't get very good sleep, or some days you, um, you know, there's just something that always goes.
Yeah. No, I think it's important. I think it's really like the point of that question is just to show the human side. Like people see this amazing athlete on race day, right? And I don't think people put two and two together sometimes. Oh yeah, they have a full-time job and they have this going on and they have that going on. So yeah, it's the human side of it is interesting. So,
Totally. Well, and it's hard in this sport too, where you kind of have to be doing
yeah,
multiple things.
this is true. Unless you, want to live in your van, then yeah, it's not very easy.
But yeah, I mean, most people are hustling in some way, which is super inspiring. And maybe that's like, I think that's part of the reason why ultra running in general is so inspiring. Like, yeah, very few people are just doing ultra running. And I think that the community um, brings in that type of person that's like, super motivated to go to Tam at 5:55 on a Wednesday, before work or whatever it is. And it's probably why it's like hard for me to find a specific person I can think of that inspires me, because it's really just like every person I interact with on a daily basis is like pretty inspiring, like if those people weren't doing it, we probably wouldn't be doing it either. So I think just having these communities and pockets of people that are really motivated by having the balance or trying to figure out the balance, because we're all just trying to figure it out. But yeah, actually someone who was it was in the work context, but it was like talking about like we don't have balance. Actually, like life is inherently unbalanced, but you just have to like find the imbalance that you like. Because like my life isn't balanced. It's very unbalanced, right? Like most people aren't running this much and working. So I think it's like, yeah, it's just like finding that balance that you're okay, the imbalance
where you can function, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So now as a professional in the sport, I had to ask you this too, because I kind of glossed over and said something about, I don't know, living in your van or this, that, and the other. What do you think of the professionalization of the sport? Like, you think it should get more professional, or do you think it should stay more grassroots? This is a tough one because like I've wrestled with this a lot and I just always like to hear what other folks have to say for it.
Yeah, I'm so mixed. I think I would love for it to stay grassroots. Like my favorite races are the ones that are super homegrown. I think a lot of people share that sentiment, but you can't have growth of the sport without commercialization or, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I actually, it reminds me of a conversation that people were having or a couple years ago when like Dacia was sponsoring UTMB or whatever. And there was a lot of pushback because that's a car company and that doesn't help the environment. And it does feel like there is this big, we're at odds in this sport where like the reality is that if you want the sport to grow, you need investment, and it might not be the investment you want.
Yeah.
But like if you want the sport to grow, then you need it. So it is this, I don't know, we're at this really interesting tipping point, I think, where the sport should continue to grow, and I hope it does, because people are getting into it. It's such a great, we love it and we should share that with other people, right? But it is going to change. And so I don't know how you balance those things, but I feel like it's going to have to commercialize a little bit for the version that, like if we want to become a super, a sport that can pay people well, or any of these things, like if we really wanted to develop into a sport that is out there, then it has to happen. Um, but I hope that at least like a pocket of it stays the same.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't think like you think of like I don't know, because like you're a San Juan, you live in the San Juans, so like you see hard rock, which is so grassroots, right? And it's like it's changed, it's grown a little bit, like, but it's obviously because of their permitting, you don't get more people. But the fanfare has changed and grown, but like it still remains the soul of what it is. So it's
It
like
does.
I always looked at our sport like as a soul sport in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like I just don't see, like, you see that speedy and fast component of it, yes, and like sub ultra and golden trail and things like that. But there's certain aspects of the sport that really have not changed over the
Yeah.
years. So yeah, I don't know. I agree with what you're saying. I just don't. I don't know. It's a roll of the dice and wake where things
It's
go.
really hard. I
Yeah.
think also we're seeing it. One specific example is actually there's this race in Telluride, which is maybe the best race ever. It's called the Telluride Mountain Run. More people should do it. But they came up, they're having a permitting issue
Yeah.
because the town of Telluride instead wants to have a bluegrass festival that weekend. And it's probably going to push the race out, which is really sad. And I know this is like a slight tangent, but it's the same idea of like this small grassroots race in the community doesn't mean very much to the town because it's not very lucrative for the town. Like, but we have a million festivals. We have a million,
There's a bluegrass
so many
festival in
music
every
festivals.
town. Yeah.
Exactly. So it is this like there's always going to be this pull of how do you keep something true to its roots? Like I guess the comparison I'm making is like to the town. Like how do you keep Telluride genuine with these events that showcase the mountains or showcase, this part of the community with also like yeah, at the end of the day, you're a town that's purely based on tourism. Like, I don't know. And I want those, like Telluride Mountain Run's my favorite race, pretty much. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you like make it unless the sport gets really big and then it becomes really lucrative. Like I mean the UTMB style, but then you're like, well, then how's
Yeah.
UTMB?
That kills it. Yeah.
So I'm just adding more complication, I think, but
No, no, I appreciate it. I actually had reached out. I'm very familiar with this. I had reached out to the race director when this information came out, tried to get him on to see if he wanted to come on, but they didn't want to talk about it because I guess there was some hearing or something.
yeah, there was.
How did that go? The hearing didn't
I
go
don't think
to.
it went well.
Yeah, it's just a shame. Like I've like long wanted to bring like a VK to Telluride because that's like one of the few places in the country where you could probably put like a proper one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like it'd be cool to like, I don't know. Why get rid of that race? That race is so perfect. It's one of the most full-on mountain races in the country outside of the rut, and it's like, damn. Like, yeah, it's really upsetting to see. So
It is really upsetting.
yeah,
And we'll probably keep seeing like similar stories, which is like, yeah, is it good for the sport? Is it bad for the sport? I don't know.
yeah,
It's not good for the community. Maybe it's good for the sport all in, but that doesn't necessarily, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like things that are good for the sport might not be good for the small, the grassroots version of it. So what do you prioritize? The
yeah.
sport or the feeling? Then you change the feeling. I don't know.
It's tricky. It's tricky. No, but these are good conversations to have.
Yeah.
All right. So last question. I always ask somebody that, like, I always ask like a stupid question at the end. It's usually Bigfoot, aliens, AI. I got to ask you because you're a tech person. Tell me about like your take on AI. Do you think like it's going to become our like evil robot overlords, or do you think it's just going to be a tool we'll use in the next few years?
Oh man, really doing the hard questions. I'm pretty skeptical. I'm pretty cynical on technology, in general. Like in high school, I had a smartphone, and then I got rid of it because I was like, this is ruining our friend group. Like people would just be Snapchatting like across the table. I was like, I can't do this. So I'm very cynical. And then sure enough, like here we are with phones and phone addictions and attention issues. So I don't know. I'm worried that AI will take over like quite a bit. I don't know the time frame it's going to happen on, or what it's really going to look like. Um, and there's always like good and bad, right? Like social media is good. We have people are able to promote themselves, but then we also have the flip side, which is that it's bad for mental health or whatever. Um, so I assume AI is going to follow a similar trajectory where it's going to be really powerful and really good in a lot of ways, but then there's going to be unintended consequences. And those are what worry me. Just, you know, job market, things like that. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like,
Yeah.
but I'm skeptical.
Same. Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say like evil robot overlord yet, but like
No.
it's more so just like, damn, it's gonna take everybody's job, and like, what do we do after that? That's a bummer. Like, it's not just a bummer. That's kind of horrible. So,
Yeah, well, it's definitely just going to change the way we live, which we've already, I feel like even in our lifetime, we've already seen people like change the way they live multiple times. So it's just going to be another iteration of that, I think.
true. Well, I think it's a good place to end it. Listen, Lindsay, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was a great conversation. Definitely
Thanks
looking
for having me.
forward to to the future and everything you're going to accomplish this summer. And thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. What'd you guys think? Oh man, what a fun episode. I want to thank Lindsay so much for coming on the podcast and having a conversation. Really appreciative that she was came on the pod to let me help tell her story. So really fun. Guys, before we get going, hop on Instagram. You could best support Lindsay by giving her a follow on Instagram. You could find her at L_Allison. That's L_ALLISON. Hop on Instagram, give her a follow, send her a DM, let her know what you thought about the episode. I'm sure she'd love to hear all the words of encouragement before she embarks on her, she kind of already embarked, but before she embarks on her big 2025 summer season, I should say, and a build up to CCC. So, guys, before you get going, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, or wherever you guys get your podcasts. Last but not very least, this episode was brought to you by Ultimate Direction USA. Some big things coming down the pike from Ultimate Direction. We just dropped our new Race 6-liter vest and Ultra 12-liter vest. Two amazing products to the product line that we're super excited to bring out. Two beautiful aesthetic colorways as well that I was super pumped on. When I say aesthetic, I mean like this beautiful onyx and green, and a blue and white vest, which just dropped as well. So guys, hop on ultimatedirection.com if you're interested in one of these. Check them out. I also modeled it, which is pretty dope. But yeah, use code SteepStuffPod for 25% off that purchase. An already affordable priced vest just got more affordable with your 25% off. So thanks so much, guys. Lots of fun stuff coming down the pike. Ryan Becker was just on the pod, so that episode's going to be dropping next week, as well as Rachel Tomajek. I always butcher her last name. Sorry, Rachel. But yeah, lots of cool pods coming out in the next few weeks, and some big things coming down the pike for Broken Arrow and Sunapee. Thanks, guys.